Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Wellness Podcast. I'm your host, Edie Summers, and it is my great honor today to have as my guest musician, songwriter, and producer Nicholas Gunn. Nicholas is here in the studio with me, and I'll welcome him in just a few moments officially. But first, I wanted to share a little bit about Nicholas's bio. Nicholas is a multi-talented musician, songwriter, and producer who has made a significant impact in the electronic music scene. And I would have to say also the new age music scene. With a classical music background, Gunn has evolved his sound to embrace genres such as trance, melodic house, and chill out. As a songwriter and lyricist, Gunn has collaborated with various vocalists and producers, crafting emotive and uplifting tracks that resonate with listeners worldwide. His music often features soaring melodies, intricate production, and a blend of organic and synthetic elements. Gunn is also the founder and owner of Blue Dot Music, a record label and music publishing company dedicated to showcasing emerging talent and releasing exceptional electronic music. In Nicholas's own words now, when we look back on our lives, we can find the years that changed our course. For me, those years were 1994 and 1995. On August 1st, 2025, the exact 30th anniversary of The Music of the Grand Canyon, I released 30, a collection of my life memories through music. But it's not just a collection of memories. It's a collection of the most introspective, deep, and resonating songs of my musical career. From a broken heart to wedding my pain, from experiencing the most successful album of my career to the anguish of changing times, to finding my voice again and discovering new success, it's all in there. I use the backdrop of the desert Southwest and the canyon, paying reverence to my career, my instrument, and to you, my listeners. There's a piece of us in every story, and you can find yours in mine. And Nicholas, I just love that. What a beautiful, kind of very personal bio. And thank you so much for being here. I'm so grateful.
Well, thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
Yeah, and so there's so many questions I have for you, but first, let's talk about your latest album out, 30. Do you want to share with listeners what that's all about?
Yeah, I mean, you pretty much summed it up with the bio on the record there. It literally is 30 years of my life story through music. And it was time to do a record that somebody said to me once, maybe you should write a book. And I thought to myself, well, no, I'm not going to write a book. What I'm going to continue to do is explore music. That's how I tell my life story. And, I think there's a beautiful, subtle way to do that through music without being too deliberate in like with a book. You say, well, this happened to me and I advise this, and this is what I suggest doing. And this is my life story. I do that through music, and 30 is that. It's really my book. You know what I'm saying? Over 30 years.
That's incredible. And for listeners, so many people I think already know who you are, but for listeners who don't, I mean, you have an incredible discography. It goes way back. And I have to tell you, I definitely will come back to that. I love the idea of summing everything up in an album versus a book. But you really do have so many albums. And so your landmark one was The Music of the Grand Canyon. Am I saying that correctly? Is that the landmark one?
Yeah, well, it really started with The Sacred Fire, which was the album prior to that. But The Music of the Grand Canyon was my biggest seller and my biggest success, which sort of set forth a very clear and intended path for me.
And so for listeners, so Sacred Fire is amazing. The Sacred Fire. My personal favorite is Passion in My Heart.
Is that kidding?
Oh, yes. Nicholas, that's how I discovered you. And I know this is old school, but I found your CD, I think, in probably a new age store. I don't remember now. Yep. It was so long ago, but it's my favorite album ever. And you're a virtuoso. So to hear, I mean, I love how you talk about like, that you've created almost like a book form in terms of a CD now, but your music goes way back and it's deep and it's so profound. And in my experience, I've already told you this. I told you this before we started recording here, but I am a fan. And there's a reason for that, because I play music myself. I love music. I run off of inspiration, and your music is so inspiring, and I find it both inspirational and grounding all at the same time. So I think that's amazing that you would put your story in terms of, as you say, like in a CD, and yet it's very universal. I really feel like your music is very universal. Is there anything else you want to share about 30? Because I know that you also don't you have some trance music on there? You want to talk a little bit about maybe the evolution of your musical journey?
Yes, well, absolutely. So 30 really is a culmination of everything I've produced and who I am as an artist from the beginning to now. And I made a huge transition around 2016 to electronic music. And it's not because I was chasing a more lucrative market. I literally love electronic music. I was married. My first marriage, I had been divorced, and it was about 2001. And I was crazy. I was going to the clubs and I was exploring a life that I hadn't previously had. And I'm standing in the clubs. And this is after quite a bit of success with the music of the Grand Canyon, the Sacred Fire. We'd already sold millions of those records. And so I think by 97, we'd sold almost 2 million records. I'd sold almost 2 million records. And so here I am, divorced in 2001, and I'm standing on the dance floor and I'm thinking to myself, what is this music? It was the emergence of this genre called trance, vocal trance. And I was absolutely, for lack of a better word, entranced. And I couldn't get enough of it. I'm just like, I should be doing this. This is what I want to be doing. There was a part of me that wanted to explore vocals and writing lyrics. And that was even back in that time. And unfortunately, I didn't have the opportunity to either get into dance music or electronic music or exploring vocals or lyric writing, because I was tied up in commitments, either with distribution or with record labels. And I had commitments to keep producing the kind of style I was already doing, which is new age, slight world kind of music. Never called myself new age, never really dug that term, but I always went, well, because, unfortunately, with every niche genre that adheres and does well, it then gets flooded with a bunch of artists that sort of take away the true purpose of any genre. And unfortunately, that happened to the new age genre that was really born in the mid to late 80s into the early 90s. And it became just, just really oversaturated with a lot of just okay music, So I never really liked the term. So, when I gravitated out of the 90s into the 2000s, and here I am on the dance floor listening to electronic music, I thought to myself, how in the heck can I transition to this? And how can I make this a part of my musical life? Well, it wasn't literally until 15 years later that I made that possible.
Wow, that's incredible. Well, there's also such a thing as timing, right? And I mean, of course, you could do anything. So, and I learned about ED. Is it also related to EDM?
Yeah, electronic dance music is sort of the umbrella term for all of the genres in electronic. Yeah.
Okay. And sorry to use the term new age. Is a better term neoclassical, because I know that you're classically trained.
Instrumental.
Instrumental.
I used to go with, instrumental music. The one thing about my sound, no one had it. And I wasn't copying anyone. And so when my music sort of hit the scene, with Afternoon of Sedona being my first record, and then Sacred Fire in 94, Music of the Grand Canyon in 95, no one was really doing that sound. It was born out of my classical training on the flute and born out of my playing drums and percussion. I played both instruments quite well. And so I created a sound that I'd heard in my head and in my heart, and it became mine. And what else do you call a sound that's instrumental that doesn't belong to major genres? Well, you either fall into jazz, classical, or new age.
Oh wow, that is so interesting. I didn't know that. And you really are very unique in your sound. And yeah, I agree. I can't think of anyone else that sounds like you, which I think is why I just was so in awe of your music. And your music is timeless.
Thank you.
I mean, so I have to say, just as a fan note, yeah, I still have CDs, and I still have a CD player in my car. So I'm always playing your music on long road trips, for instance, because I like to listen to the whole thing. But Nicholas, let's talk about, if it's okay with you, let's talk about your backstory a little bit, because you are, a master flutist. Is it flutist or flautist?
Either one's correct.
Okay. And then you play the drums. And yeah, if you could share people how you got started and like your evolution.
Sure. It's a funny story, really. I mean, I was 6 when I started at the Royal Academy, and people said, "How do you start at the?" But at the time, it was called the Royal School of Music. It is now the Royal Academy of Music.
Wow.
But, it was a crazy story because I was 6, and I had just heard this man on the TV playing flute the night before. This golden flute. His name was James Galway, quite a famous flautist, and my grandfather was a professional steel guitar player. He played in the Felix Mendelssohn Orchestra, the Hawaiian Serenaders. Crazy. Just a really, really cool vibe, its own thing. And he was touring, a touring musician. And so my mom said, well, maybe one of the kids would be proficient at music. So she came to me the day after I'd seen this flautist on TV and said, Nick, if you were going to play an instrument, what would you play? And I said, the flute.
Love that.
I should have said the piano or the guitar.
No,
it would have been probably a little easier. But true story. And they said, well, okay, let's start with the flute. And Mick Judson, who was in the Royal Marines Band, was my tutor. He came out to our little village in Hartlip in the southeast of just southeast of London in Kent, and tutored me twice a week. And then once a month, I would go up to London to take exams. And it was all a part of the Royal Academy of Music at the time, the Royal School of Music. And I did that from 6 till 11 until we moved to America. And then I transitioned to other instruments, such as drums and percussions. And I played in, I'm not joking, I played in every rock and roll bar on Sunset Strip between the ages of 16 and 21.
Even Whiskey A Go-Go? Sorry. Did you play Whiskey A Go-Go?
Whiskey, Madame Wong's, Gazzari's, the Troubadour. I played them all.
Oh my gosh.
playing drums. And so I have this foundation in melody, which is the counterpoint theory, the classical training with the flute. Then I have this rhythmic structure and training through drums and percussion. These two vastly different worlds in music. I learned what I didn't want musically, and that was to be in a glam rock band. I mean, I had 2 bands I played in. One was a glam rock band, an 80s big band glam rock band.
Wow.
And the other one was just sort of like, almost like a classic 80s progressive band, like a Duran Duran, really.
Okay. Interesting.
But I mean, we were no one, but we were playing the clubs and we were playing the bars. And I was so young. I had a fake ID so I could at least play the drums. And I lived a lot at a very young age. And so I went through all of that. And then I got into some acting and modeling. And I was quite successful for a year. This one woman came out to me. She goes, look, you should be doing some acting and some modeling. You have a great look. And I thought to myself, acting, modeling, why would I want to do that? But I said, sure, I'll give it a shot. I was just a young kid, And believe it or not, I landed a Ford motor car commercial. I landed a spot on Freddy's Nightmares, which is a TV show at the time.
Wow.
But I made a tidy sum of money in a year. And I went out and bought my first recording equipment.
Oh my gosh.
And
that's incredible.
I literally set up a little studio in my parents' house. It was all the classic open reel recording stuff because you didn't have digital then. And then I literally quit doing acting. I said, this is it. I'm in music 100%. I started creating my own music.
Wow. And so what age were you when you started creating your own music exclusively?
Gosh, I was probably about 18, 19.
Oh my gosh, that's so young. So
Yeah.
you were, I mean, it sounds to me like you were a prodigy and then you were immersed in the world of music and beyond. And so, I mean, that's really,
Prodigy is a big
the great
word.
ones are doing. Oh, go ahead.
Prodigy is a big word. Prodigies to me are these, these people that are born into life with this innate ability and gift to play an instrument almost perfectly from the beginning. And me, I had to work with it. It wasn't something that I fell into that naturally. But
Interesting.
but what I could hear
Mm-hmm.
is, and this is the producer and the engineer in me. I've
Okay.
always been really good at producing and engineering.
Okay.
And I've done all of my own music. There are no engineers, there are no producers, there are no composers, there are no other writers. It's all me.
Wow. Well, those are a lot of skills that, I mean, for a person to have one of those would be a lot, but to have all of those together is amazing. I want to circle back to kind of the evolution of trance in your label, but if you could give someone some advice about, if they have some skills or a talent for music, could you, and we can also do this toward the end, but since we're on kind of on the topic a little bit,
Yeah.
what would you tell someone if they had this talent and they wanted to be like you?
So music appreciation is really important. I think that if somebody has a great gift, a natural gift in music, you got to nurture it. I've always thought that there was a great comment that was told to me once that has always stuck with me, and that is, to be excellence, you must observe it first. So to be excellent, you must observe excellence first. So if you are naturally gifted at an instrument, does it mean that you're necessarily going to compose and write amazing music? Because I think as composers, as writers, we observe great music over our lifetimes, and we sort of put out there our own idea of what that would sound like. I think there are some unusual situations where people are just naturally gifted and they can all of a sudden come up with something that no one's really heard of before. But those are really diamonds in the rough. I think, naturally speaking, we're all sort of a product of everything we've listened to before. Yeah. So to observe excellence, to always never settle on mediocrity. So your appreciation of every genre and seeking out the very best in every genre makes a musician so good. Not being egotistical regarding genre or egotistical regarding musical tastes or choices, to absorb it all like a sponge and just seek out the best in everything.
I love that. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no, and then ultimately there is the hardest part about being a commercial musician is that it takes a really savvy business mind. So you've got to learn to bridge the gaps between artist expectation and industry expectation. Okay. And that's a talent in itself. It's like, how do I become a commercial musician or producer or recording artist and actually make a living at it without giving it all away or being taken advantage of? So just to be really well studied on everything as best as you can. There's no shortcuts. That's the thing. There are no shortcuts.
Well, that's such great advice, and I want to transition into talking about your label, Blue Dot Music, because you own that and run that. Is that correct?
Yeah, I have a staff, but I am the founder and the owner. Correct.
Okay, and then so that is, I would assume, is running a business, and then you obviously you have to promote. You're promoting your own albums too. Is your album also a part of Blue Dot?
Yes. Yeah. Everything I release is on my own album. I may do a collaborative project on another label once in a blue moon, sort of like a golden handshake between two different people. But, most of the stuff I do for myself is on my own label.
So I would love, if you would love to talk a little bit more about your label, Blue Dot Music, and also so the kind of trance, and of course I want to circle back to your other music. But I know it's all connected. So let's talk a little bit more about first maybe your label, and then how trance and kind of you talked about how there was like a 15-year gap between discovering it And then now it's kind of the evolution of your engineering and production and writing and songwriting and all of that.
Yeah, how the heck did I end up here, right? I mean, like, how in the heck did I end up doing trance music and actually sort of being really at the top of the trance market right now? It's crazy.
Amazing.
It's what's happened is really quite amazing.
It's amazing.
So in 2016, after a very painful episode of losing my first label, I had a record label from 2001 to 2009 that I could not transition to the new market, the new digital market. It's a very difficult time for labels. And if you remember, there was a massive stock market crash and a housing crash in 2008. We had difficult financial times. And Borders Books and Music, the last standing brick and mortar retail, went down, and it was just a disaster in the music industry. And so I had to close my label at the time. So between 2009, when I did that, and in 2016, I sort of just, I did music. I released albums. I released 31 Nights during that time. I dabbled around. Yeah, it was a great record. But I was searching, and I was really bruised. I was trying to find new ground. How in the heck do I reinvent myself? And all of a sudden it came to me, what about electronic music? Are you brave enough to just completely change courses? Because this would be the time. This would be the time. So I started Blue Dot in 2016 as just a way to be able to put my own music out that was electronic, more electronic. And I started doing more electronic works, and I was really wanting to get into trance. And I met a young guy in Chicago who was pretty proficient. I partnered up with him and started an act called Limelight. Well, believe it or not, we ended up getting our first deal with the largest electronic label in the world, Armada Music.
Oh, wow. Wow.
We were producing trance music that was some of the best stuff out of the gate.
Incredible.
And we immediately, Armin van Buuren, he has a label imprint on Armada called Armind, and he signed us, and we never had a single release before. Never made any music, and we got signed by Armin himself. Wow. And Armin van Buuren, if you're not familiar, is one of the largest electronic artists in the world. He's got a legacy that is just incredibly impressive. So we were fortunate. I was fortunate, but that turned into a relationship. We've ended up moving away from Limelight. Tanner went on to work at Armada and is now Armin van Buuren's right hand of A&R, artist and repertoire, and also creative. And now I'm focused on Blue Dot and creating my own content here, which includes writing and producing some of the best trance music we consider in the marketplace. And then Armada also had me write a bunch of tunes for their big guys. I wrote Armin van Buuren's Tune of the Year in 2021 for all time.
Oh my gosh.
The list goes on. But all of that turned into this sort of percolating series of events where Blue Dot became a new front runner in the trance market.
Incredible.
And then we started branching out into chill house music and melodic house, as well as keeping all of our original intent and ideas in place, which is ambient and down tempo, which is my original sound, really.
Okay. Go ahead.
Now we're over 1,000 titles, and we're over 1,200 published titles, and we're growing over 108% per year right now.
That's incredible. So when you say 1,000 titles, you mean like publishing or putting out other artists? Is that what you mean?
So we represent, I don't know, probably about 60 or 70 artists and over 1,000 current works.
That's incredible. And I was really struck by so all the different terms that you're using, Nicholas, like ambient and chill and trance and EDM. And for those of us who maybe aren't as familiar, are you open to maybe explaining a little bit, maybe some of the differences, let's say between, did you say chill? Is it chill hop? Is that what you said? And
house music, but chill.
What was that?
Not as sophisticated as you think, just chill.
what are the differences? Is it just the tempo, or are there other differences? I mean, some of them have lyrics too, right? EDM, is that the one that has the lyrics in it?
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously songwriting, lyrics and top lines, which is the lead melody a vocalist would sing, is something I do a lot of now. That's part of my transition in 2016. But all of these genres encompass mostly vocal stuff.
Okay.
Blue Dot releases mostly vocal music. We very rarely release instrumental when it comes to the electronic chill house and trance genres and melodic house. But these genres, for example, chill house music, are slower tempos, usually between 120 beats per minute and 128 beats per minute. Okay. Trance is much faster at about 128 to 134 beats per minute. Okay. And then melodic house is around about the same as chill house, but it's all sound design. The way that you treat the production, the way you use the choice of sounds and how you sound design the track, all belongs to the genre. And I have to say about electronic, it is terribly pigeonholed when it comes to these genres. And it's very difficult to get traction in the marketplace if you don't sort of follow the guides.
Very interesting.
Oh, it's horrible.
And I wonder why that is. Go ahead.
Well, it's not something personally my artistry would adhere to very well. And this is what's been very unique about our label and me. So I'm now known as a songwriter and a producer that's entered the electronic music scene that's sort of given a middle finger to it all. Because I've come in with all of this acoustic instrumentation, drums and flute and acoustic elements, and I'm putting it into trance tracks. I'm putting it into chill house, and people are digging it. People are going, okay, so Nick's breaking the rules and pushing the boundaries of the electronic music genre. And we're doing it carefully. We can't jump over the edge and say, well, this is something so different, no one's going to want to put it in a set or play it on the radio or vice versa, you know. So we have to be careful. We want to bridge the gaps appropriately, but we are pushing the boundaries of the genre.
I love that. And I really think that's important. And people crave that too, because ultimately, don't we all want to transform and feel as good as we can and evolve, and all of that requires pushing that edge. And so I'm grateful that you're doing that. And I love your new music. I love your original, you know, your old, however you want to call it, your original music too. And I can't encourage people enough to go check out all of Nicholas Gunn's music, and also his label Blue Dot Music, because your music is it's transcendent, it's euphoric, but it's also really grounding for me. And it is very spiritual. And so now, Nicholas, I appreciate this. I know that I have a wellness podcast and I talk about wellness, and I really appreciate that you offered to talk about some wellness related topics. I just want to say, first of all, that for me, music is very much about well-being, and it's also about spirituality. And I think that was one of the first things that drew me to your music, without even being able to, not that I could control that I loved your music, but you know what I mean? Like, it was, I didn't know at the time maybe why. And now I have a better understanding of, it is kind of, it grounds you and also takes you to that edge of what's possible. And I'm so grateful that you share your gifts that way, because it really carried me. It really kept me inspired. And I really feel like people need that. Go ahead.
Yeah. So look, it's an interesting point you bring up. And I only divulge this information when I'm asked. And since you have a wellness podcast, I get comments a lot that my music grounds them and it has a deep spiritual undertone and there's a connectedness with it. Well, it's my belief. It's what I've witnessed and what I've seen through music, that this is just an experience for us right now. What awaits us in afterlife and in another dimension is absolutely staggeringly beautiful. And we are all one. We are absolutely all connected. The perception that we're separated exists only here. And this is my belief, and this courses through my music. It's never changed. It's always been the same for me. And I've always felt and understood a deep sense of sacredness and reverence for life and nature and music and the things that bring us all together as human beings. And anything that's living, alive, we are all connected. And we have to literally pay homage and respect that on the highest level.
Wow. I got chills when you said that. And you summed up exactly how your music makes me feel. So I'm so grateful that you put it out there, because I don't know that I've experienced it any other way but through your music. That, it definitely gives me a window to what's possible. So, and it also, music expresses how you can't express yourself sometimes, right, in other ways. Like you were saying, like you put your story or in your book into an album. Music kind of transcends everything else, So I'm so grateful for your music, and thank you for inspiring so many of us, including other musicians and composers. And so Nicholas, so let's talk a little bit. So you had mentioned 432 hertz. Am I saying that correctly? So maybe like the misperception of that healing frequency, or the false perception. Would you be open to sharing a little bit more about, because I know that I see people using that all the time. What's the real story about that?
Well, for me, it's about deceptive beliefs that, marketing gimmicks around music and ideas that are designed to really sell ideas to people that aren't particularly true. 432 hertz, the whole tuning around 432 hertz and what it really means is a complete myth. And it just so happened that when you asked me about topics for this particular interview, I just had a discussion with somebody about 432 hertz tuning and why it doesn't really matter with regards to what they call healing frequency, because all frequency in the right combination and how it makes you feel is healing. There are destructive frequencies without a doubt, but there is a way to combine frequencies, and there's a way to explore frequencies that is healing, that's just outside of a 432 hertz tuning. So to explain what 432 hertz tuning is, all orchestras and all musical instruments currently in today's market are tuned at A440, which is 440 cycles or 440 hertz. It's a tuning that the scales are all abide by. Now, if you were to take that down 8 cents, which is 432 hertz, basically what that means is you've just detuned, you've made the note slightly flat. And to have the entire octave 6, 7, 8 cents flat says it's more healing. Well, this is why it's ridiculous, because if you heard a 432 hertz tone without an instrument playing it, without what's called timbre. For example, when a violin plays A440, the things that go into that note are timbre. So there is modulation, there's frequency that rises above and below, 440 hertz. Okay. Sorry, 440 hertz. So to say that, 432 hertz is a healing frequency, when every single piece of music is a combination of multiple tones and octaves and progressions within a certain key signature. There are overlapping tones and frequencies across every single piece of music that is well outside of 432. You cannot determine that 432 by itself is a healing frequency.
So interesting.
It's a preposterous subject to even enter into. The complexities of frequency in the human ear is so incredibly complex that it is really it comes down to the fact that none of it adheres to any scientific knowledge.
That is so interesting. And well, thank you for shedding light on that, because it is used so much. And it sounds like maybe it's a marketing gimmick in a way.
Oh, it's 100% marketing. It has no scientific basis.
And I love how you also say that it's kind of the frequency of any frequency in music that I mean, I think has good intent behind it, is healing. I mean, I think we all know that and can feel it. And isn't that why people keep playing music? And whether you're composing it or listening to it, there's something about it that it heals the mind, body, spirit, heart, and it's integral. I think that people are always going to need music, so Nicholas, there are a couple other topics I wanted to ask you about. You had also mentioned AI and music, and kind of the effect on the music industry. I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about that, because of course AI is everywhere now, and I'm wondering how you feel about it. I mean, can we even avoid it at this point? And just your thoughts on AI and music.
Yeah, well, the AI machine is brilliant. I was listening to a track last week, Sadie Winters, Walking Away. I even made a social media post on it. And I was just blown away. I mean, I would have fallen in love with this artist if she was real. I think a part of me did fall in love with her, and she's not real. Here's the thing, right?
So funny.
But power, look at that power that AI has. But it's not just, was the track good? Her falsetto, her tone, the way that it's constructed, the lyrical content, the melodic content, the transition from verse to chorus, it was all brilliant. It was really well done. Highly concerning. If I was a brand new artist and I was faced with listening to the AI engine spit out that in 4 seconds, I would say I'm doomed.
Yeah.
But yeah, so AI is not going away, and it's just going to keep getting better and better. And I'm not worried about it from that perspective, because I think that human beings, or a certain segment of the market of human beings, will always seek out human created music. And I think that it's going to create a clearer and more defined market for those wanting to seek out human created music. But there's a caveat to that, and that is the law surrounding AI versus human created music. And there's some problems right now in the industry. And we can discuss those a little bit more. And it's, unfortunately, it has to get political, because it has become political. Big tech, especially in the United States administration, has been manipulating the way they use music, which is everyone's music, including mine, for the AI engine to learn. When you listen to a track like Sadie Winters, Walking Away, that learned from every authentic artist that ever came before. But that music has been taken illegally. It's been taken illegally without license or permission under what's called fair use in copyright law. Well, fair use was never designed to protect AI. It was designed to protect human interest under copyright law. Well, unfortunately, there's been a lot of lawsuits between publishers and record labels and big tech, the people that create AI, with regards to this fair use clause. You cannot use our music without fair compensation and license to us. So a lot of lawsuits going back and forth. So the head of the Copyright Office in the United States sat down and made a paper, a determination as to a further definition of what fair use is. She said the fair use was created not for AI, it was created for human interest, and it's there to protect human interest. Well, the very next day, the United States administration fired her.
Wow.
All in an effort to pave the way for open AI, open IP laws, like meaning open intellectual property laws, which means that intellectual property now is threatened. And we have to get past all of this. We have to find a way to protect human created music and label it as such, and have AI be labeled as such, because it is being distributed on the stores. It is being consumed. It doesn't belong to any one artist because it's not copyrightable. You can't copyright an AI track. So the bottom line is they need to label it as AI on the stores, and human creative music, as long as it's protected under copyright law moving forward, we shouldn't have any problems. So it all comes down to the law. And making
what was the last thing that you said, Nicholas?
Just making sure our rights are protected.
Yeah, absolutely. And I so appreciate you sharing your knowledge on that, because it does sound like it will come down to that, and hopefully we'll get there so that artists are protected. And it's evolving so quickly. Talk about evolution, that that's part of the problem. And then of course it sounds like there's, just maybe some lack of ethics too, in terms of not honoring artists. And before I let you go, Nicholas, I wanted to ask you, again, for anyone who's an aspiring musician, and also just for those of us who are fans, and in between, like, what is, if you're open to this, like, what is your process like for coming up with a song, or with or without lyrics? I'm just curious, like, you talked about that you've studied other musicians, and obviously you studied for a long time yourself. Like, I'm just curious what your process is like, if you're open to sharing
Diving
anything.
into the abyss.
Oh, is that what it's like?
No, it is like diving into the abyss. For me, it is. So I let go. I become one. I become one with the universe, and
Wow.
I lose myself. I let it come through me. But it's like walking. If you get used to going there, it's like walking. Let's say, for example, here's a good way to put it. Let's say, for example, you take a route every day. You drive a route to the supermarket every single day, and you're used to driving that route. You're used to driving that route. So it becomes repetitive, and you become getting used to doing it. Well, for me, composing music over 33 years has become that. But what I've learned to do is I've learned to refine how quickly I arrive at that perfect spot.
Got it.
And that spot is really just relinquishing yourself to that pure creative energy that flows through everyone.
Wow.
And you just sort of, you use your formula. I have a formula that I use for composing all my pieces. I start sometimes on the piano, sometimes I start rhythmically, but it's an energy field, and I feel it. I feel when I'm connected with it, and it's tangible. I questioned it for years. I said, "Is that something there that I think I'm tapping into?" And now I know 100% for certain in my life today that yes, indeed, I am, and that is part of what we all can do, I believe.
Oh my goodness. I so appreciate that. And I love that you talk about tapping into the energy field and kind of that infinite creative potential. I can definitely feel that and hear that in your music. And I think, again, that's one of the things that I find so inspiring in it. That, again, I couldn't put my finger on when I was younger, right? Like I couldn't quite pinpoint it, but I knew it was there. So I'm so grateful for that. And then Nicholas, is there anything else that you want to talk about or share, whether it's your new album, anything at all that you want to share with people or let people know, anything at all?
These are difficult times for the world. There's a lot of strife and a lot of conflict, and there's a lot of heartbreak. People are worried, they're scared. There's one thing that heals us all, and that is each other and the music. Music. Let the music heal you. And it's if you give yourself a good dose of nature, walk away from it all, and you give yourself a really, really good dose of music, and then just surround yourselves with the people that care about you and have your best intentions in mind, the world won't seem quite as daunting. And this is why I moved to the Northern English countryside, to protect myself and my family from what I perceive to be a world that's sort of becoming a little bit unraveled right now. And so we need to sort of center ourselves. And so the one thing I would like to put out there is just keep listening to the music, and keep spreading love, because it's the only thing that matters.
I so appreciate both of those. And thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and music. And thank you so much to everyone for listening. And be sure to check out Nicholas's new album, 30, and check out his label, Blue Dot Music. Nicholas, are there any websites that you want to send people to?
Yeah, so actually I just go to blue.musicstudios.com. So it's blue.musicstudios.com. Studios, just like it sounds, blue being spelled out, dot being spelled out. So blue.musicstudios.com. You'll find all my music and all our artists' music there.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Nicholas. Thank you so much for being here. And thank you so much, everyone, for listening today. We hope you have a really beautiful rest of your day, wherever you are in this world. And we'll talk to you soon. Take care.
Thank you, Edie. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Nicholas. Thank you so much.